Leadership is tough, and there's no such thing as a perfect leader. But you know what? You can learn just as much from bad leaders as you can from great leaders. And I've had both during my time in the Navy and what I've seen since I left the Navy. And I'll never forget when I was a young ensign. We had a commanding officer who would yell at us so hard that veins would pop out of his neck and his forehead. And many of my fellow junior officers left the Navy because they didn't want to put up with that abusive behavior. And what I did, I would listen to him. And if his criticism was justified, I'd learn from it. If it wasn't justified, I wouldn't let him ruin my day. But what it enabled me to do was to think about what leadership style I wanted to try to achieve as I progress up the chain of command. And I one time worked for an Army general. And I wasn't in a leadership role, I was an individual contributor. And this general was the type of leader who never gave me any feedback, positive or negative. And to me, I'd rather be yelled at than to have a leader who doesn't give me any feedback at all. At least I know if I'm getting yelled at, I know what I need to do to improve. And I was miserable working for this general until I decided I'm going to try to train myself to think like the general. And so in meetings, he never asked me for my opinion on anything, but I watched how he arrived at decisions. And what I tried to do was to train myself to think like him. And before he ever made a decision, I would say to myself, if I'm the general, based on what's been decided, what decision would I make? And what it enabled me to do was to anticipate what needed to be done so that I could be there with a solution. And what happened? The general started to trust me, and he started shedding his responsibilities onto me. He put me in charge of the trip planning team, the security detail, the communications team. I eventually had 45 people working for me in a role that had traditionally been an individual contributor. And you know what? He, to this day, has never given me any feedback. Do you know who I got it from? His wife. She came into the office one day, came back to my desk, and said, Mike, I want to thank you for everything you're doing for Paul, because for the first time he's coming home at night happy. And it's because you're stepping up to the plate and lifting burdens off his shoulders. And that's what leadership is all about, is how we can train ourselves to think like our chain of command and then anticipate what needs to be done, do it, and they start to trust you more. And they start giving you more and more responsibility. And at the end of the day, that's where the satisfaction comes from. And since I've gotten out of the Navy, those people who anticipate the future will be the ones that control their own destiny. Instead, if you're just reacting, you're going to play catch up and you're going to slowly fall behind. And what we hope to do with this navigation guide is to give you all the tools so that you can anticipate what needs to be done and how to grow yourself as a leader and position yourself to control your own destiny. No matter what happens in your industry or your occupation, you'll be the one that people want to hire and have on their team, because you'll be lifting burdens off the shoulders of your chain of command, and they'll become loyal and dedicated and committed to you. So that's what leadership can get you. And I'm happy you're part of the program.